Hey guys, it's Paradise, and did you know something is missing in Monster Hunter Wilds that has a lot of people disappointed? There's even people going as far as to say it's ruining the game for them, and there is literal articles being written about it. While the overall experience of the beta was enjoyable for most people, there are a few things missing that if you're a long-time fan of the series you will have noticed after a little while. One of those things is a core part of the combat, but Capcom have seemingly removed it from this latest iteration of Monster Hunter. We noticed that none of the other major creators have put a focus on it, so we thought it would be a good time to address it, as we have seen that this is a major pain point for a lot of you in the comments, and some of you may have experienced it, but may not necessarily have known how to vocalize it due to a lack of terminology in these kind of games. We really want to make sure that Capcom have heard your feedback, so let's go through it and you can let us know how you feel about it. It's good to note that for some people this is massive, while for others it isn't very noticeable or impactful for their experience, so it is a little divisive. But you might be wondering, what is the problem? If you watch these two clips, can you see the difference between them in Monster Hunter World and then Monster Hunter Wilds? You may have guessed it, and that is right, there is less heft in the Wilds version. One of the things that makes Monster Hunter combat feel tactile, visceral, and awesome is that big, impactful hit that you get on the weapons. The lack of this heft in Wilds is due to Hitstop being removed from the game. Let's talk about what Hitstop is. Hitstop is a game design technique used in animations to emphasize attacks and combat. It essentially adds small pauses to hits, which either stuns the player while doing the attack, the enemy, or both for a short period. It's good to note though, this is commonly used on the player character, and if you've ever played a game and thought that an attack was particularly meaty, this could be the reason in addition to the sound and particle effects. Hitstop is predominantly used in fighting games, action games, and games that generally have a melee focus. The small pauses are a way of conveying to the player that they have connected a hit, which is especially useful in fighting games where you need clear indications of missed inputs. In anime fighters, the hit stop can also add to the rhythm of the combat, making it easier for players to execute their combos. The creator of Super Smash Bros., Masahiro Sakurai, actually has a YouTube series going over some of the game's design techniques, and one of the topics he's touched on in the past is the importance of hit stop in games. It's a great series for those of you interested in game design, so definitely watch the full thing, but for now, we're going to take a quick look at a small section of it that explains it perfectly.
ヒットストップという仕様があります。これは例えば相手を攻撃したとき、少しだけ止まっている時間の演出を指します。これがあるのとないのとでは手応えが全然違ってきてしまうので結構大事ですね。スマブラスペシャルにおけるフィニッシュ演出もこの延長線にあるとは言えますが。
So this is why it feels awesome to hit that dirty spike on someone in Smash Bros. But focusing back to Monster Hunter Wilds with this information, you can see that the attacks in the game don't have much hit stop, or in fact any at all in some cases. In previous Monster Hunter games, that pause for attacking was pretty substantial and really made the combat feel like you were dealing a ton of damage with those particularly strong attacks. User Blue Stigma on Twitter actually made a comparison video and frame counted the difference between the hit stop in Monster Hunter Wilds and Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. You can see the switch axe in GU had around an 8-frame hit stop pause, which Blue explains feels extra meaty due to Monster Hunter GU running at 30 FPS and ends up being about a fourth of a second that the hit stop is in effect. They also made comparisons to Monster Hunter World and Rise, and you can see that World had around a fifth of a second hit stop, while Rise went back to a fourth. Then for Wilds they actually counted and it has 0 frames of hit stop, and you can see the player overhead attacking just straight through the monster. It's worth noting that even though this attack has 0 frames of hit stop, it hasn't been completely removed from the game, as it does exist on some attacks like the hammer, but in a reduced capacity. Now you might be wondering, why is this so noticeable for some people and not for others? First, it could just be an awareness thing, that once you know about it, you start to look for it more. If you've played more recent Monster Hunter games with higher frame rate, it could result in less hit stop. But from our testing, it's going to really depend on the weapon that you use. If you use something more fast hitting, like say the dual blades or the longsword, you are going to be less likely to feel the difference compared to something like the greatsword or switch axe. You can see just how much more hit stop the True Charge Slash has in World than it does in Monster Hunter Wilds. This is particularly noticeable with the first and second hits having a more noticeable hit stop effect. This raises the question as to why Capcom have chosen to do this. It seems like it's a design choice, as it does still remain in the game, just with dramatically reduced values on certain weapons. Something that has been speculated is that the hit stop effect has been reduced due to wanting a bigger focus on the hit stop of the power clashes and offset attacks to make them feel as impactful as possible. We aren't exactly sure though, and hopefully we'll get an answer to this at some point from an interview, as it will be really interesting to find out why. All in all though, we think that the combat in Wilds is super enjoyable, but adding that hit stop back would be the cherry on top. With the game still being in development, there is a chance that Capcom could adapt these values to bring back those meaty chops. But do tell us what you think. For some people, they may prefer the game without any hit stop, and that's perfectly fine. But hopefully this video helps you understand this whole scenario, and tell us below if you have anything else that you want us to talk about and raise up, so hopefully Capcom will see it. As you already know, we've covered the game's performance, the insect glaive, and more. So if you appreciate this, drop a like below, as it does help, and of course subscribe for more Monster Hunter and videos on your favorite games coming very, very soon.